I love working with a limited palette. A limited palette generally has just very few colors involved in it. And in this case, this limited palette that I started to mix out just to see what its potential is, has a cadmium yellow, and a alizarin crimson, and an ultramarine blue. And mixing these out from the primaries to the secondaries and then into the neutrals is a way for you to explore and understand what the potential of each limited palette. So I'm often really content just to work with 3 primaries, because when you do that, what happens is that your painting is orchestrated in a way where there aren't any really wild card notes in there, where everything talks to each other. They have the sense of relationship and harmony. But at a certain point, through necessity or just curiosity, you might decide that you want to work with a palette that is more dynamic or maybe more diverse. And often people will immediately go to the art store and find something like this, and they'll say, oh yeah, I really want to get this because it has every color I could possibly need right at my fingertips. And that can be really wonderful and exciting and satisfying. But I recommend, if you're just getting started, rather than going and getting a huge amount of colors, to just go and expand from the limited palette into something where, rather than having just one of each primary, maybe you move into something that has 2 of each primary. So in this case, I have a pair of yellows, a pair of reds, and a pair of blues. And this, for me, is actually, it could yield an incredible number of colors, like, over a couple dozen colors. And it's a warm and a cool of each primary, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. But I'll show you how you might take that expanded palette and experiment with it. So in this case, I've got, started out these color wheels. This one is a warm color wheel where I'm going to experiment with warm colors, warm primaries, cadmium yellow, cadmium red, and ultramarine blue. On this side, I have a cool color wheel where my yellow, red, and blue primaries are considered cool: lemon yellow, alizarin crimson, cerulean blue. And I want to show you a little bit, especially with the reds, how you can actually sort of feel the difference. These 2 yellows, the lemon yellow, which is cool, and the cadmium yellow, which is warm, if you can see, they have a slight difference. Like this warmer yellow has almost like more of a sunshiny color. This almost feels like there's a little bit of white mixed into it. On this cool color wheel, I've already mixed in the alizarin crimson, but I want to show you on the warm color wheel how the cadmium red feels in relationship to the alizarin. So I'm going to take my palette and I'm going to hydrate my brush, and then I'm just going to go in to my red, and I want to mix it so that it has enough water to make it flow, but not so much that the paper shows through too much, because I really want it to stay red. So I've got enough red on my brush. I'm going to come into this red pie shape and just go ahead and carefully paint in this area, and then we'll compare it. So coming in and just filling in this pure cadmium red. And then when I look back and forth between the cadmium red and the alizarin crimson, I really feel the warmth of this almost orangey, fiery red, and then the alizarin crimson on this side has almost more of a purpley, sort of deeper color. So the warm and the cool color wheels are a great place to experiment and start to expand from the limited palette, and just notice, based on the colors you have, what their potential is. And if you don't have these colors, there are resources that can tell you online what colors are warm and what colors are cool, just within your own group of colors that you have. So I encourage you to experiment and play with expanding from this limited palette, which is super useful, into a more expanded palette. And again, you can do this. One option is to do it with a warm color wheel and a cool color wheel, but you can really make many, many color wheels and just sort of notice, use them as a resource, use them as data to notice the potential of the way that you use color and what they'll yield.